All right, hi everyone, it's Andrew here. I hope everyone's doing well today. I was thinking before we get started with this first live stream over YouTube, just to see if everything is working. So a few logistics here. So again, on the website that you're watching from, a couple of things. We want to ensure that we've clicked play so that you can hear in on the stream. And also, it'd be great if at this time, if you're listening, if you could press here to ask a question. So we click here, and then we go into YouTube. And if you could say hi, it would be great. Okay. All right, so let's get rolling. Thank you for joining today. And again, this is my first try with the live stream, so we'll hope for the best. And also, if you're not joining live today, one of the great things around the live stream is the ability for people to watch when it's convenient for them. So maybe you're watching at a different time. And so today it's all about Microsoft Teams and Read and Write. And also maybe just before I continue, at the end of today's session, I'm going to check the chat pod. All right, so again, right back where this button is here. If you click here and you ask a question, I'll do Q&A at the end. Okay, so I'll take a look. So if you have questions, feel free to ask as we go. So today, Microsoft Teams and Read and Write. So the journey, if we think of, a lot of what I've shared in the past around technology-enabled learning and teaching is us having a home online, and when we have that home online with our students, it's really easy, or it's a lot easier to implement things like blended learning and maybe a bit of flipped learning where, students can go home in the evening and do assignments, places where we can, as teachers, provide support in real time. And Microsoft Teams does a great job at that. And so just recently, in the past few months, the board now has made available Read and Write. And so Read and Write is an accessibility tool, and we can use it with, you can use it with the internet, you can use it with PDF files. And today's focus is how we're able to use it with assignments in Microsoft Teams to support blended learning. So again, what is Read and Write? This evening, we're gonna look at that. We're gonna look at how do students access and use Read-Write? Okay, so how do they do that? And then finally, we're gonna look at how does Read and Write work with the assignments in Microsoft Teams. So here's what we're gonna do. If you're following live right now, I'm going to pause now, and I'm going to have, you can all watch the video that's right here. It's Read and Write for Education. And this does a great job at introducing what Read and Write is and what it can do for your students in your classroom. So I'm gonna pause, and in 2 minutes, I'll be back. So again, for the participants that might be joining late right now, the people who were able to join from the start are currently watching this video that's below as an introduction to Read and Write. All right, so as you can see from the video, it's a pretty amazing tool, and once the students get rolling with it, it's pretty easy to use also. So I'm going to go back to the deck now, so we've watched the video, and we're going to move on just to add on to the video at this point in the presentation. I just wanted to speak briefly to some of the highlights or key functionalities of Read and Write. Again, I won't talk about all of them this evening, but I find the best way to learn is just to, as a teacher over the next few weeks or so, to get in and just play around with it, and you'll see it's pretty straightforward to use. So the Read and Write toolbar, it's a toolbar, and it works with the Chrome browser. Okay, and so once you've accessed Chrome, there's a little puzzle piece, and I'll show you exactly where that is in a sec, but we click on it, and then the students have access to this bar here with all kinds of great learning tools. And so if we look at some of the functionality, we have text to speech. Okay, we can hover over speech, so students can hover over words. There's a talking dictionary. There's also a picture dictionary, which is really cool. So students can highlight words and it provides them with an image. There's a web search tool. Built in, there's a translator feature. We have highlighters that are built in. So again, this is really handy. Again, if you're using Microsoft Teams and assignments, and maybe part of the task is students to identify parts of the speech or the passage within a text, they could easily use the highlighter tools. Again, there's talk and type. You can simplify the web. So you can basically click on this button here, and it removes all of the messiness sometimes of being online, and it just provides the students with the text. And then finally, there's screen masking. And so students can isolate parts of the text as they're hovering over. And the really cool part about the screen masking tool that's built in is students can adjust it. So it can be one line, it can be 3 lines. Again, it's pretty flexible as a tool. So the next part, so part 2 of our live event this evening is how do students access Read and Write? So step 1 is they open the web browser, Chrome, and over here on the right, now again, my demo in part 3 is going to be with Microsoft Teams, but I'll just show you that you can use it with any website from Chrome. And so up here on the top right, at school, on all of our devices, if you try this, you'll notice there's a little puzzle piece up here, so you can click on it. And once you do that, or the students do that, you're prompted to sign in. Okay, so the students are going to sign in using their username and password for Office 365. We are currently working with IT hand in hand to try to remove this piece. So when the students are here and they click here, they wouldn't be required to enter their username and password again. But I would say like part of my September startup routine now would be to really work hard at developing that piece where students know their username and password. And there's my dog in the background, if you can hear that. So again, username and password. And once they've done that, they're going to be prompted to put in the password here. And then it's a quick yes. And then finally, it's available. So there's going to be a little drop down. It sits here. And then when you click on it, it basically drops down, and then students can use all of these tools with the web. The final part of today's live event is just taking a look at how does this work with Microsoft Teams. So, if let's say as a teacher, I want to build out assignments and I want my students to go and they can work directly on the assignment and I can provide feedback. So let's take a look at that now. I'm going to go to Microsoft Teams. If you're new to Microsoft Teams, I have another online event that occurred earlier in the year where you could go take a look. And it basically does an overview of Microsoft Teams. It's a really, really easy to use 21st century look. It looks a lot like Facebook, so there's a conversation feed. Again, I won't speak too much about Teams this evening because that's not the focus. But again, there's other videos and resources on my website that you can go take a look at to get started. And I'm also always just an email away if you need help too. So this is what it looks like for the students. So they log in, they find your classroom. And so I have an assignment that I've built out. So they would click here. And then they would click on their task. So each student, once you build out an assignment in Microsoft Teams, every student has their own copy. So I click here. And again, if we draw the analogy, Google Classroom was very popular and is still very popular. And so if you want to draw the analogy, if you've heard of the Google Classroom, our Microsoft Teams now is a lot like the Google Classroom. So students would go to Edit in Browser, and then you'll notice now up on the right-hand side here, oh, sorry, I'm going to do that again. I was in the wrong spot. So again, so just to kind of explain where I was, this here is the desktop app. If you're accessing Microsoft Teams, we would again do it from Chrome to use Read and Write. And the students would click on Microsoft Teams here. And then once they're here, it's View Assignment. Same thing, press on the task. And then the students are going to stay online. They're going to stay in the cloud when they're working. And so now I'm accessing this kind of like the students would. So you'll notice now that there's an assignment here, kind of like a reading comprehension task. There's a little guiding prompt for the students. And then right here, look at this, Read and Write, accessible to all learners in your classroom. So it's a great tool that the students can use to really help them achieve the best that they can in the assignments that they're doing for you in your classroom. I also at this time wanted to just quickly showcase up here on the right-hand side under Options. Donc, si tu enseignes français langue seconde, we can switch all of the functionalities to French. And also for the read component, so if the students are having anything read back to them with Read and Write, they can also switch both the language and the features to French also, which is really handy. So again, if we take a look at Read and Write, how do I get started? If you're using Microsoft Teams already, you can see how it works really well with Microsoft Teams. Let's say you're not using Microsoft Teams and you want to just try it with the Chrome browser, again from school. You open up the Chrome browser, you find a website, and then click on the little Read and Write for Google Chrome add-in, sign in, and give it a try. So, again, just being mindful of the time. I like to keep these sessions short. So again, it's just kind of a quick overview and snapshot of the capabilities of some of our great EduTech tools. And to finish with a little quote from Anthony Karabash, a colleague that I follow on Twitter: improvement needs practice, practice takes time, and time needs patience towards others and most importantly, towards the self. So I find this speaks perfectly to technology. If we look at the time of year when I was in the classroom, this was often a time of the year that I started to think about, what are the new things that I could try now with my students, so that if I try them now, I would be ready in September and October to start the year to use them. And so I find now is a perfect time for you to try Read and Write. It'd be good if the students have access to the computers in the classroom, to have them log in into Chrome, have them practice, accessing Read and Write, and just having them play with it this year from now until the end of the year. And then you're all set for next year in September. So before we end, I just want to take this opportunity to thank everyone for joining today after school. And please feel free, if you have any questions around anything Office 365 related, if you want to get started with Microsoft Teams and you want some help or some tips and tricks, please reach out via email. If you're on Twitter, you can always reach out on Twitter at aloveit75. So I hope everyone has a wonderful end to their day. Thanks again for joining, and I look forward again to next month in trying this live stream experience. I just took a look at my chat pod, and it looks like there doesn't seem to be any questions. So we will wrap this one up. Have a wonderful evening, everyone. Take care.